Hello and welcome back, History and Harmony students. I know it's been a minute since I posted a video, and that's partially because I've been working on something special and new for all of you. I am really excited to finally show you my new website. So we're going to head on over to www.paperlesspianoteacher.com. This is a dedicated site full of easy downloads to guide you through your exam studies. Now, right now, majority of the resources are for your History 9 and 10 students. There are also a few Harmony 9, 10, and ARCT worksheets available, but I'll also be adding more to these periodically, so make sure you're checking back. I've also got some beginner theory level worksheets and activities, as well as charts for home practice, piano technique guides, chord progressions, and a lot more. Now, one of the most popular downloads is the History 9 overview sheet. If you'd like a more in-depth guide on how to use it, make sure to check out my other video. There's now a level 10 version of this available, so if you enjoyed it and found it really helpful for your level 9, you can now use it for your level 10 as well. You're also going to find things here to help you study terms, required listening, composers, and a lot more. Now, the one I wanted to highlight with you today is the Level 9 Composer Guide. I call it the Get to Know the Composer. There's one page for every composer in the 2016 syllabus, and on each one you're going to find a section at the top, and it is color-coded. Now, the color coding is going to be based on the era, so your orange is for Baroque, blue is classical, purple is romantic, and your green is for modern era. I've tried to be consistent with this throughout all of my worksheets, so if you're working on terms, if you're working on the required listening, I've tried to be consistent with the color coding based on era throughout all of these. Now, the reason why I designed this specific worksheet like this is because I found them to be helpful because you get all that important information in one spot that you can start studying for your exam. Now, you're not going to be able to fit all of the details on one of these sheets for the composer, but you are going to be able to fit all of the important things, like your terms related to the composer, the people, the dates, and then you can use that as a jumping off point to continue studying more in depth. So for your exams, these are typically broken down into sections, and the major sections are often very similar to what you see on this worksheet here. So what we're doing is we're essentially asking and answering who, what, where, when. There's specific questions relating to your glossary terms. These are fairly obvious when they're definitions. And you have to know not only what their definition is, but the piece or the composer that they're associated with. Now, sometimes you can use one term for multiple composers or multiple pieces. For example, your rocket theme, you're going to be able to use that. I believe it's introduced with Mozart, but you'll also be able to use that with Beethoven too. And it's going to be correct if you answer it for all of them, but it is first introduced with Mozart, just for this term as an example. Use your RCM history book as your guide, or you can also use the syllabus, the theory syllabus, because this lists all of the requirements and has the required terms listed right there for you. So this is going to help you avoid getting lost and overwhelmed with where to put all of these terms. Dates can be found in a few different areas in the exam. You're definitely going to be getting questions about your composition, so you absolutely want to make sure you've memorized composition dates. You may also see date questions come up with short answer and essay questions. It doesn't outwardly ask you for dates, but it's assumed that you should be putting these details in those essay questions. So generate a timeline for these. It can be very helpful when you're memorizing and telling the story of each composer's life. Because remember, that's essentially what we're doing. We're starting with when they were born and their early life, and telling the story of how they became who they are and matured into the composer that they are. Certain composers are going to be more date heavy than others. Again, use that RCM text to help guide you. So I recommend starting with them, so you're really logging those guys into your long-term memory. Composers like Bach, Mozart, Beethoven, kind of the heavy hitters. You see a lot of dates with them. You might even want to break these dates down into further sections so you don't get super overwhelmed. So for someone like Bach, you might want to start with the major dates of the different jobs he had or the places he was. Start with those kind of major dates, and then you can break those dates down further into what happened while they were at that workplace. Same with Beethoven. You can start with his early life and then break it down into his composition periods. Associated people and places. So these are going to include all the major players in the composer's life and who was associated with them. For someone like Bach, I see Anna Magdalena come up a lot, his second wife. For Berlioz, Harriet is a big one. Again, your RCM history book is your best friend when searching for these answers. If you go looking in a general history book, you might get overwhelmed and unsure of which ones are the most important and are going to show up on the exam. This is where the RCM text comes in handy. It's not a bad idea to have all that extra information, but it may not come up on the exam. Just remember, we're talking specific to the exam. Finally, we want to know what they wrote. Obviously, you want to make sure you know about the required listening work that's associated with the composer, but you do also have to be aware of other titles and genres. You don't need to know details about these works. Again, not that it's a bad idea to learn about them, but it's not going to be required necessarily for the exam. There are some exams every so often I see pop up that ask for titles and genres. So an example question might be, what are 3 nicknames for symphonies that Haydn wrote? So something like the London Symphony, the Surprise Symphony. Again, the history text has a list of these written with each composer. I sound like I'm a salesperson for it, but it is very helpful because it provides you with all the information you need for this exam. That's essentially it for the Get to Know the Composer Level 9 package. It's just a quick kind of study guide, a way to kind of be jotting something down instead of reading the information over and over again. Do make sure that you check out the website and let me know what other videos and resources you might like to see. If there's a specific worksheet package you want me to teach you in depth of how I use it, let me know. Right now, everything is just about free on the site to download. So have fun, and we'll see you again soon.